Kind of wanted to go over one Vanderbilt. We'll talk about a few other projects, but this is a unique one. I had a little bit of experience developing some things for some demonstrations or some mock-ups. So I have an interest in it. I thought it was a really cool project, probably one of the largest towers going up on Manhattan, which is now up. Something noteworthy about it, especially to put it in time scale. This is a picture of a small tile that Boston Valley Terracotta produced for this project in the early stages. And this is some metal from Rigidized Metals. They kind of approached us to see if we could, have some way to enhance this gap between panels with some metal. But I bring this up because this is December 7th, 2012 that I took this photograph. This project was completed in 2020. So it's basically from at least 8 years from concept to completion. So just to give you an idea of the timescale of some of these enormous projects. We were called in at Rigidize, which I was consulting for at the time, to help them do a half-scale mock-up of the assembly. The idea here is these terracotta panels. One of the reasons for them, it needed to, the building that was going up needed to have some kind of a respect for the historic architectural materials and characteristics of the skyline of New York City, of the vernacular architecture. So terracotta is a well-known material and largely used material in construction in the city. So the architects wanted to include that in the facade construction. They needed a way to come up with some basic ideas of how this mock-up would look so that we could get it in front of clients and decision makers early on. So Boston Valley needed a way to hold these panels together in a way that would be reminiscent of the actual construction. Once again, I say this is half scale. So at Rigidize, we designed and constructed a box to support those tiles and a way to attach our exposed metal trims that would go between the panels. And you can see the similarities here. These are, it looks like it's a mirror image of it, but nonetheless we have these smaller panels and the larger panels. A lot of the discussions that was happening here, and it's not apparent in this image, but the idea of the patina, the coloration of these, you can see that you can't see in this image, but towards the edge of this, the glazing starts to bleed away, so they have a very earthy, handmade feel to them. The imperfections of the terracotta glazing were important to be preserved. The color qualities, how they would reflect light, were critical. So you can see here we have a setting sun. Here we have artificial lighting, and really no change in the panels, just the color of light that they're reflecting. So I've included this image just to show you this is the way these systems go up. You can see clip systems over here to grab the panels. You can see the lifting bar and then a crane system above in order to move these into position. I believe this is hyperlinked. It is. So you can read a little about the history of it if you want. Go back to full screen here. I think this is just a really beautiful corner detail while it's under construction. And a lot of the issues I wanted to start thinking about were there are all kinds of conditions, places where things need to be concerned. The designer needs to be concerned. You'll also notice, like in the case of the way the cassette is applied, where the start of the cassette is and where the finish of the cassette. In some ways, it's intuitively the opposite way around. So we have the glazing system that goes to something that sits up. I'll try to point that out a little more clearly in the next slide. There are channels to support the baguettes, but there are also channels. This channel here may be an access channel also to support window cleaning and other types of rigging that might need to be going onto the building to support maintenance, cleaning, and repair. And then there's always this idea of what happens at corners, panel alignment, these little tiny systems that need to be dealt with. And so we're not really going to resolve these, but these occur all the time in our in the advanced stages of our design detailing. So this is a clear illustration of the way that cassette or modular system works. You can see there's really basically a starter panel here, and then the module itself, the curtain panel, actually has the spandrel at the top of the panel for the next floor up. So we have a spandrel panel with no glazing because the panel that goes on top of it is the glazing with the spandrel on the top. In our case, we probably won't do that, but this really needs to be thought out and detailed because this termination, especially over this overhung termination, required this kind of consideration. Also, the way the attachment clips work, where they're positioned in the system, and where the bulk of structural support needs to occur. This is hyperlinked to. This is just a video showing how there are automated systems to handle these cassettes. I just thought it's a great graphic about how these can be handled and moved into position. Once again, I showed this in another part of this lecture, but the idea of a cassette system can be different components or different modules, so it can look not like a cassette or modular system at all, depending on the intent and the characteristics that the designers puts into the modules that we construct. So that's just one of the large buildings that's happening on Manhattan. And this is another one, just to give another, I guess, a view of what curtain wall construction can look like. I think it's really beautiful. It's very historic. It's done by shop architects. This is one of those tall, skinny buildings that has a great view of Central Park, very high-end construction. So here we have still modular construction. I'm sorry, I believe this is hyperlinked. If it's not, I invite you to go to it and explore this project. Yep, my link is dead right now, but I'm sure you can dig back to this shop architecture project, and I apologize that I didn't update that link before I started this presentation. Anyway, very interesting and worthwhile for your exploration. And I think I'm coming to the end of this. Yep. I just wanted to show you that I show you terracotta, but it can be anything. This is a detail of a clip system, an attachment system, and we're looking at now stone, precast concrete, could be steel. And I invite you to be able to start thinking about these clip systems, not as final engineering, but the original concepts for how you're thinking about how things attach, how they're going to perform as rain screens. So you're well prepared when we move to later stages of design development to have articulate, informed discussions with facade consultants and other people that are going to be involved in the project.